Your presenter today is Joy Genduza. Joy is the founder and CEO of Postcard Mania, a marketing company that specializes in lead generation. Joy grew her business from a small startup in 1998 with only a phone, a computer, and postcard marketing. That means no capital injections or venture capitalist backing. And today, Joy has taken that small startup and turned it into an industry leader. Postcard Mania employs 210 people and generates over $49 million in annual revenue. She's regularly featured in Dental Economics Magazine, Business Insider, Inc. Magazine, Entrepreneur, and more. So here's your presenter today, Joy Genduza.
Hi everybody, thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us on this webinar. We'll just get right to it. So that's me. I'm holding Lulu, my Maltese. Those are my two children, my son Zachary and James. That's Zach. He's a marketing consultant here. James does all the amazing videos on our website. This was our Christmas card last year. That's my husband Sam, and of course my fur babies, Tori Birch, Conan O'Brien, and Lulu. She's the old girl in the group. We'll just get right into it. So as you heard from Jessica, I started this business in 1998. You can see me on the left there. I couldn't even afford to put together a real trade show booth when I went to my first trade show, and that was a little cottage that we were in Clearwater, Florida on Turner Street. And to the right, you can see where we are now. We built that building in 2009 is when we moved in, started the project in 2007, and we're 210 people strong now. And interestingly, dentists make up the highest percentage of our revenue, which is about, they're at about 16% of our overall revenue, which is, I mean, we deal with 350 different industries, so that's a huge amount for one industry. We just really, honestly, we have it down. We know how to get new patients for dentists. We've done so many campaigns that it's, we just know exactly what to do. Now, what's happening now is that what I notice is that most business owners, whether you're a dentist or not, you've been very disappointed with marketing expenses that you've had in the past where you put your trust into some expert and then they didn't give you the results that you were hoping for. And we really, really understand that here. So what we do is we keep track of all the campaigns that we deliver, and we get as much data as possible on them so that we can share with you what has already worked for other dentists. You can look at all the other cards and campaigns and what lists and what type of practice they had. We're happy to share all that information with you as long as the dentist gave us permission to, and those are the ones that we share, the ones where we have permission. So today, people are marketed to so heavily from so many different angles that what I want to do is go over with you what are some of the successful things that you can do with your direct mail piece to stand out in that mailbox and be the one that they see. Now, we did a survey. We sent out a survey on one of our lead generation tools that we use for ourselves. We send out a survey, and we've had about 18,000 businesses respond to the survey. But out of those, 386 were dental practice owners. And what's really significant to me about this particular slide is that we asked them what type of marketing they were already doing. And as you can see, you know, they're over here, excuse me, in the direct mail, Google, Yellow Pages area for the most part. But what I thought was really fascinating was that almost 40% of them didn't even answer the question at all, which means they're not advertising. Now, I know if you have an established practice, you know, you don't need to do as much promoting as you would if you have a new practice, but you always want to at least have 10 new patients coming in a month just to keep things going so that you can handle any attrition. So let's take a look at what you should be budgeting. And this is just based on what other people are saying, and then I'll give you some other information. But 3 to 5% of fee income plus costs for the initial things, which is your branding and your website. but that comes from the Academy of Dental CPAs. 4 to 5% of fee income is what 1-800-DENTIST says. 2 to 7% of fee income is what Henry Schein says. 7 to 8% is what the Small Business Administration says for small businesses that do under $5 million, but that's very general. And the wealthy dentist says you should be spending $60,000 to $100,000 per year. Now, this is another thing that I've heard a lot. I did market and it didn't work, but I can tell you that marketing does actually follow what you spend on marketing will follow your revenue graph. Like whatever you wind up spending on marketing, the lines will be the same on your revenue graph if you lay them on top of each other. It's quite interesting. So whenever I hear anyone say I did market and it didn't work, I know for a fact that they were being inconsistent, that they did a bunch of outflow of some sort over here and then didn't do anything and then realized they needed new patients and did a blast, but they're not being consistent. So I'd like to share with you some data from one of our dentists, Patuxent Dental. This is Dr. Ahmed Khanna. He's in Maryland. And what's very nice about him is we can track a lot of the data in the different campaigns ourselves, but we don't know what your revenue is at your practice, but he's very lovely to share with me how his practice is doing. He came to us in 2009. He bought the practice in 2007. What they were doing then was yard signs and yellow page ads. And then he started mailing 6,000 pieces consistently, and he just watched the graph just going up. And then in 2011, he switched to 12,000 pieces a month. And again, he just saw the momentum and the consistency, and he saw those numbers climb. And then he added the integration, which I'll get into that a little bit later, how you integrate your direct mail with your Google advertising so that they all work seamlessly together. We have a product that we have here called Direct Mail 2.0. He'd started doing that in 2012, and he's been doing it ever since. And of course now he bought a new property, and he's got 3 dentists, and he's gonna have a big old grand opening in September. And I think I might surprise him and show up at his grand opening. He's just been a really good friend, helping me with all his numbers and what he's doing. So let's take a look at what some big brands that, of course, we're not always big. Everything starts out as an idea, but I just want to show you, like, Tempur Sealy spends 21% on marketing for 21% growth year over year. Twitter spends 44% of their revenue on marketing, and they've been growing 111% year over year. Salesforce, I'm sure you've all heard of that. That's a big customer relationship management software. They spend 53% of revenue on marketing, and they grow 33% year over year. So of course, there's software, and there's not a lot of hard costs once you have your software built. But and same with Twitter. But this is what it takes, unfortunately, to grow and grow and grow. And I just got the numbers from my chief marketing officer right before I started this webinar today. With my payroll in marketing, I'm spending about 20% on marketing every year. Now, how much do our dental clients spend on marketing? So an established practice like Dr. Khanna, he spends 3.7% now per year on his marketing. We have one of our clients, Auburn Family Dental. She's a brand new practice. She's spending 4.5%. But I got to tell you, she marketed like crazy before she opened her doors. She filled her book before she even opened her doors. A growing practice, Village Green Dental, he's spending 10% because he's literally like growing and opening other practices with what he's doing, just really going for growth. So I want to go over with you also what your job is as a marketer these days. So today we're basically doing a few things. The first thing we have to do is generate a lead. And you'd think, and I think this is true in dental, is that if somebody is in pain, yeah, they're going to pick up the phone and call. But for the most part, people are doing all their research online. They are, if they see your postcard or they see your billboard or they see anything, they're going to go to your website first. So what happens at your website is very, very important. and you want to set your website up so that you could capture the identity of the person who's visiting easily and make it very comfortable for them to give you some of their contact information. And I'll go over that with you in much more detail. So the first thing you want to do is generate a lead. The second thing you want to do is capture the identity of that lead. And then what you want to do is you want to have a good follow-up system in place so that you can close up as many of those people that reached in from your marketing as possible and get that appointment booked. So we're going to talk about lead generation. So first of all, what is a lead? When I define a lead as anyone who sees your advertisement and has some slight interest in what you have. And we don't know when someone sees your ad how engaged they are at that moment, how cold or warm or hot they are. But if we can capture their identity, then we're going to be able to do something to warm them up and make them into a client or patient. So as I said, today's lead generation, every form of marketing, every channel that you're using is going to lead people to your website. And what happens there is extremely important because that's where they're going to decide whether they like you or not, whether they want to continue the conversation or hit the back button. What's happened is since we have Google now and we've had, the red line here is technical advancements and the blue line is consumers calling a business to get their questions answered. And we don't need to call in anymore. Actually, we don't want to call in if we don't have to. We would much rather get our question answered and make our decisions before we have to make an appointment or make a phone call. So I would say that out of, and where I get this 95% number is from surveying people in the room when I do a live presentation. But all the people, I would say closer to 100% these days of the people who are interested in what you have when they see your ad, that go to your website, will go to your website before ever picking up the phone or doing anything, you know, to contact you. They're going to go to your site. And what happens at a website is this. Statistically, 96% of the people who visit a website leave that website without taking any action at all. And that's where you really need to learn some best practices in order to get people to not just leave your website and beat out that statistic. So we're going to go over some of that as well. But first, we're going to talk about generating leads and getting people to go to your website in the first place, and we're going to talk about using direct mail to do that. So I'll give you some statistics about direct mail. The top one there, 13-to-1 return on investment, that is an average across many, many industries. Fortunately, you do have a high number in dental, and I'll get to that. I'm going to show you a whole bunch of case studies where you can see exactly what the return on investment was for different clients of ours. But when you're talking about direct mail and comparing it to using Google or email to drive traffic or to get new patients, you are literally looking at a 900% better response when you're dealing with people who've never heard of you before with direct mail. And that I feel very confident with that stat. 60% of consumers have visited a promoted website because of direct mail they've received, and 75% said they tried a business for the first time because of direct mail. So let's take a look at what's happening in your industry. You've got 210,000 active dentists in the U.S., and there's about 319 million people, so that's about 1,500 patients per dentist, and there are 600 to 800 more dentists entering the workforce than are retiring each year. So it's really important that you know all the best practices and successful actions to drive new patients into your practice and to be very proactive in making that happen. So the first thing you want to do is pinpoint your target market. Who is it that you want to have coming into your practice? And there is a way that you can do this. If you don't know what the perfect demographic is for your practice, I have a feeling most of you do, you can actually take your list of patients and append information to that list So let's say you have 1,000 patients. We append all this information like male, female, how income, where they live, what zip code they live in, whether they're a homeowner, whether they're married or single, whether they have children. We can append all that data, and then you can sort of look for the commonalities of the biggest chunk of your list. So let's say 35% are families that make $100,000 or more, or $50,000 or more that live in a particular area. So you want to heavily target that demographic. And it could be that 35% is the biggest chunk where everybody's the same. Just like I was telling you, for us, dentists are 16% of our revenue, and that's the biggest chunk for Postcard Mania out of all the others. You might find that it's totally across the boards. We'll have 3%, 2%, 5% of different demographics. So it's very interesting to find that out so you can really target. Now with the consumer list, if you're going to rent a mailing list, you rent a list of consumers and you can target by income, renter or owner, the value of their home, the gender, married or single, whether there's children in the household, even ages of children, and you can even target by ethnicity, and there's a host of other things too. You can decide to really target. I will tell you that most of our dentists actually hit an area and they don't target. They just hit every home, you know, in a 2-mile radius or a 3-mile radius, depending on how rural or suburban or urban their area is. One thing that I feel like every dentist should be doing is targeting new movers. 40 million people move every year and they all need a new dentist. And it's we have a very easy automated program I can tell you about, or you can call someone here and learn about it. But you can target, you can find out how many people are moving to your area every single month. And there'll be an average, you know, we can go back 6 months to see what the average is. And then we get on an automated program of hitting 1,000 people every single month, and you hit them 3 times. So you hit them the month they move in, the month after, and the month after, and then you will be top of mind. But what most of our dentists do is they saturate an area, and you wind up saving on postage that way. You just do a resident occupant list, and you get everybody in a particular area. Now, if you're going to rent a list from my company, you don't need to worry so much about these questions, but I want to give you a bunch of questions that if you're not going to get it from us, you should ask these questions of anyone who you're renting a list from. How often are they updating the list? And the answer to that question should be continuously. They should be updating that list on a regular basis. You're always going to have some bad addresses on any list that you rent. So you want to know if they're going to guarantee a certain amount of deliverability. And they should guarantee 90%. I would say that on average, our lists deliver at 95%. Will they refund postage on bad addresses as well as the cost of each bad addresses? Of course they should. And can I reuse the list? Now, when you're buying, quote unquote, a mailing list, you're not really buying it, you're renting it. And you're either renting it for one-time usage or you're renting it for unlimited usage. Always make sure that you're renting it for unlimited usage. Lists are not that expensive, and you want to, if you're going to hit a list one time, you're really just wasting your money, and don't even bother, because yes, you'll get some response, but it's really hitting those people over and over again and making sure you're top of mind when the need arises. Question I get asked all the time is when and how often should I mail? So I want to show you a few scenarios to give you, it really varies, and I just want to go over a few things with you so that you can determine it yourself based on understanding certain data. And I'm going to show you a lot of campaigns so that you can think with this data, okay? So when and how often should you mail? So let's take a look at a small town. This is Cedar Hill, Missouri, and that's a 10-mile radius around a practice. And in that 10-mile radius, there's only 3,277 households. It's a really, really rural area. And there are 6 dentists in that area. What you'd have to do is know who your competitors are, check out all their websites, see if you can get on their mailing list, like maybe blind shop them and see do they collect your contact information, so that, and do they follow up with you. If you know how well your competitors are marketing, then it's very easy to outperform them there. Let's take a look at a big city. We've got Denver, Colorado. A 3-mile radius has over 82,000 homes, and there are 59 dentists. So this is pretty good. This is like, there's a lot of homes per dentist. Again, you know, this is only a 3-mile radius, so you may want to go out 1 mile if you're in a huge area like that, so that you don't have to research 58 other dentists in that area. But honestly, the more competition you have, and the more they are promoting well, the more you have to mail. And I would say that what we recommend, and what most of our successful dentists do, is they mail once a month. They hit the same list once a month. Either they mail once a month, or they mail weekly to a quarter of the list, and then start again with a weekly mailing. You know, like if they have 12,000 records, they'll hit 3,000 a week, and then just keep rotating through the list. Now let's take a look at some very specific successful mailing schedules that our clients have done. This is Chehalis Family Dental, and they are in Chehalis, Washington, and they hit a resident occupant list in surrounding zip codes going as far away as 20 miles, and they just gave us these specific zip codes. Now, they mailed 13,000 2 times, 1 month apart, and they got 148 new patients. There were 40,000 homes where they mailed, and but they chose 13,000. So even though it was resident occupant, they didn't hit every single person. There were 29 dentists in their area. Arcadia Dental, these guys are located in Franklin, Massachusetts, and they also mailed to resident occupant. They mailed 22,825 pieces every other month, and over the 8-month period, they averaged 30 plus new patients per month, and they tell us that they got $300,000 in revenue after 4 mailings. In a 5-mile radius, there are over 25,000 homes and 28 dentists. North Star Family Dental, they are in Westerville, Ohio. And I want to say that I'm going to get to the designing your postcard section. I am not like a huge fan of every postcard that you're going to see that we've created. Although we have our best practices, and we will tell you what we think is best based on our experience. A, I'll never argue with results, and B, if you have a particular, we do want to go with your branding and match. When people get the card and they go to your website, we do want them to feel like they arrived at the right place and have it look similar. But I don't recommend red, a bright red on a dental postcard, because that just makes you think of bloody gums. Personally, that's what I think. But I'll get to all of that afterwards. I just wanted to point that out because we're showing you the exact cards and what the results are. So they mailed to 8,000 records. You can see that they went to specific demographic, ages 25 to 60, income 75,000 plus, and they were in very specific zip codes, and they went up to 11 miles away. They mailed 5,000 monthly in 2 months, so they did 1,250 biweekly, and then they switched it for 4 months. Okay, they did the 1,250 biweekly for 4 months, and then they did 1,000 every week for 2 months. Okay, so they got 150 new patients, and they generated 58,000 in immediate revenue. There were almost 26,000 homes and 31 dentists that they were competing with. This is Cascade Dental. They're in Pleasant Grove, Utah. They were getting 17 new patients per month approximately, if they got 209 overall. And they were mailing 2,000 postcards every 2 weeks. The thing that I always think of is if you want 10 new patients a month, mail out 5,000 to 6,000 pieces every single month. So this is 4,000 pieces a month, and they were getting about 17 per month. And here there were, in their 3-mile radius, in their 3-mile radius, they had just over 13,000 homes and 41 dentists. So I think they did quite well. So I'm feeling like those dentists are not very good marketers where they were. Family Smile Center, they are located in Milford, Pennsylvania, and they bought 5,000 records. Again, they picked specific demographics. They mailed a 13-mile radius. Let's see, they got 117 new patients and they made $42,000, and this was over a 9-month period, so that's about an average of 13 new patients per month, and they were spending about $2,500 to get those 13 patients. Fontenot Family, I don't know if I'm saying it right, Family Dentistry, they are in, and I don't, Carencro, I cannot say it, Louisiana. They were getting about 7 patients per month, 14 patients per mailing, but they were mailing every other month, which is really, honestly, I think to be much more consistent is just smarter, to just keep it going out on a regular basis. So now this one's an interesting one. The reason I brought up the postcard thing is because I'm not into this postcard, but they did fine with it. And but I don't really, I feel like it looks like a dating postcard. I'm not like, I want your card to immediately say this card solves the problem that you have, which is needing a new dentist, or if you have, you know, they just know instantly when they look at the card that it's a dental card, like this one. Oh, maybe I looked at this one already. But this one, I think this is a really good design, and if they were more consistent, they would have even better results. Let's take a look at Vincent C. Vaughters, and he is in Decatur, Georgia, and got 7.5 new patients per month. He bought a list of 6,000 records, resident occupant, on routes with median annual income of $25,000 in specific zip codes going out 10 miles. He did 3,000 per month, and over those 4 months, he got 30 new patients. There's 22 dentists and 37,000 households. I feel like he could have done much better, frankly, if he just upped his game a little on the mailings. Orange Dental Group in East Orange, New Jersey. They mailed to 2,000 consumers up to 1.5 miles away. Must be a pretty busy area. They did 1,000 pieces per month. And over 6 months, they got 200 new patients. So either they have, now they do have a very low number of dentists compared to the number of households, and there's 2,511 households per dentist. So that's really quite interesting. But that's an amazing response. You see, it's kind of all over the map. So I'm guessing that out of those 9 dentists, they're not very good marketers. Again, I don't like the red in this card. Ocean Drive Dentistry. These guys do that new to town campaign that I was telling you about earlier. They did a 10-mile radius. Obviously, it's only in one direction because they're right on the water. And in that space, there's only 555 average new people moving to the area every single month. So that's how many they mailed, and they got 5 new patients per mailing, which is an amazing result. Really, really good. So just silly not to do it. It's very, very inexpensive. I mean, over the 10 months, they spent $2,000, and they got incredible return on investment for that. Now, once you have your mailing list and you establish a good schedule, I will tell you that 76% of our successful dental clients mail consistently on a schedule, either every other week or every month or every week, and they don't stop, including my buddy, Dr. Ahmed Khanna in Patuxent Dental. And I'll tell you more of what he does, because he doesn't only do the direct mail. I actually was Facebook messaging with him yesterday about his Facebook ads and what he does with that, and I'm happy to share that with you too. Let's talk about direct mail design. You always want to design the ad with the recipient in mind. You want to make sure that, this is why I say, you know, don't put a lot of red in your postcard, because that just makes us think of blood, and we already are afraid of the dentist, and we don't want our, you know, especially a lot of people have bleeding gums, they don't want to have that experience, you know, getting probed and prodded and then spitting out blood. So design your ads with the recipient in mind. What problem does your practice solve for them? Make it about them. This is why I showed you, went back to that card with the couple. I mean, they did great on their campaign, so again, who am I to argue with success? But it didn't immediately tell me this is a dentist and they're going to solve my problem. Okay, now we'll get into more of the nitty-gritty. We're going to talk about something called eye trail. What is eye trail? It's where you look when you look at an advertisement or a web page or anything. So in composition, you're working not only with the mood of the piece, but with the eye trail. The eye trail is vital in the layout of a design. The eye must go somewhere. Start at the top and follow down. Where it starts and where it goes is called the eye trail. And right here, you get into the basic formula of attract, interest, message. Let's talk about that for a second. When you get a postcard, the aesthetics of the piece and the headline have to attract you to look at the card. Then, at that point, it has your interest. So once it has your interest, then you will actually get the message that's on that card. But if attract is out, you'll never get interest and message. And that's what I was talking about. And you want to make sure that the eye trail works to help you attract, interest, message. And right here you get into the basic formula of attract, interest, message. The eye trail should lead one, pull one involuntarily through attract, interest, message. That comes from L. Ron Hubbard, the relationship between design and rough layout. So I'll give you an example of that. When you look at a direct mail piece or any ad and the eye trail is good and it feels natural, then you feel good looking at it. But have you ever looked at a direct mail piece where you're dispersed, you're looking at different parts at different times, and you don't really know what to read first, and what happens in that scenario is you just throw the thing in the garbage. See, this is what it looks like. You're not sure. You're looking at the girl, and then I would say on this, the eye trail sort of is forcing me to kind of look in this direction, and maybe I'm looking here, but these are all, this has a picture on it. It's just a little bit confusing and not good eye trail. Let's take a look at this one straight on, the one that the guy was smiling looking at. So two things here for eye trail. The doctor is facing into the card, and the girl is leaning into the message of the card. So you want to make sure that you have that going on so that people will read what's in the direction of the person's, they're angled or they're looking. So confidence begins with a straight and healthy smile, orthodontics for all ages. And here we have a nice testimonial. What I would add here, if you're going to put a testimonial on your card, make sure you add 5 stars. I mean, even if you have, you know, a lot of bad reviews out there, 1 or 2 star reviews, you have to work on that, you have to handle that, but I'm sure you have some 5-star reviews as well. Pull a 5-star review and put it on your card and put the stars there. But this is about eye trail. So here, let's take a look at the next one. See, on this one, everybody's looking at this beautiful baby, so that's where you're drawn to look. You're looking right at the baby first instead of Smile for Miles and the offer. So now if we change it, make it look like this, then everybody's sort of leaning towards this message, and this is just better eye trail. You can also use color to help with eye trail. So you can see here that if we try to be very elegant and we do it in all beige, the only thing you're really looking at is the girl because she's super pretty. But if you add some pop and you add some color, you know, you're going to get driven involuntarily to these special offers here. So let's see. Let me give you some data about ours. Here we go. You want design and a design and color scheme that conveys dental. And believe it or not, 53% of our successful general dentists use blue and or white on their cards. Blue and white make you think of water. It feels clean, and that's just a good color scheme for you guys. Definitely want photos of smiling people, happy people with good teeth. Life is better with a healthy and beautiful smile. 87% of our successful general dentists include a photo of one or more people smiling. We want to know who's going to be in our mouth as consumers. So you want to have a short bio and a photo of yourself. And honestly, you don't even really need the bio. You really just need a photo of yourself or other doctors in your office, or a photo of your family. Make you very real to anybody who receives the card. Benefits. What I really like about this example of using benefits in a postcard, as opposed to simply putting features of your practice. Digital x-rays is a feature. It's something about you, about your practice, but what's in it for me is the benefit. So digital x-rays, accurate results with less radiation, that's a benefit for me. Cosmetic dentistry, look and feel your best is the benefit. Flexible hours, appointments that fit your busy schedule. I would rather even have the exact hours that you're open. Like we start at 7 a.m. and we're here till 7 p.m. If you have a number of dentists, you know, or like it might say, we have 7 dentists would be a feature, but the benefit would be we're open, you know, 12 hours a day, or something like that. So that's important when you're adding bullet points. I would say less copy and more bullet points on your design. You know, we don't need to read. Everybody knows what you do. We don't need to read that you're friendly and you make it comfortable, because you all say the same thing. So I would say just bullet points so we get the basics of what you do and what makes you stand out from others. A compelling offer. Now, it's interesting. I was just speaking just a few days ago at a dental economics seminar convention that they had, and somebody brought up, like, doesn't an offer, if you have free this and free that, doesn't it cheapen the dentist? And I've heard this has come up quite a bit, but I had to tell you something. No, it doesn't. That's just some weird consideration, and here's why. We get a lot of really amazing free stuff nowadays that we just expect to get for free. For instance, Google is free, and personally I use Google every single solitary day. And if I go to like a cafe and they don't have free Wi-Fi, I'm annoyed. Like, I expect my free Wi-Fi. Facebook is another one, totally free to use, and all we do is complain every time they change it, and I don't see as much stuff in my feed, and blah blah blah. But it's this amazing free thing that we're given. So the perception of free anymore is not a bad thing. It doesn't cheapen you. And even people who make a lot of money want free stuff, and they count their pennies. And you know, if I see this happens to be a good offer, free whitening treatment is a good offer. It works. 62% of our successful general dentists include 2 or more offers. So does money off or percentage off work better? Money off works better. 42% of consumers found that money off was preferable, and $50 off generated 170% more revenue and a 72% better conversion rate than 15% off in another test, where the 15% was actually $50. So let me just tell you what conversion rate means. That's like when you send somebody to your website to buy something, not that that's what you guys do, but if you send somebody to your website and when they arrive there, they're called a visitor, and if they leave as a customer, they converted at your website from being a visitor to a customer, and that's what conversion rate is. So $50 off generated a better conversion rate. I'm going to go through some offers that have worked on dental cards just to share with you. Free tickets to the zoo, and always give the value. This is a great offer, especially if you say it expires in 30 days. new patient special, $99. The free teeth whitening, great special, especially if you put the value there. And you know, a free consultation in your industry is fantastic because, you know, I'll even tell you, I've got a guy here that works for me that is looking at, he knows he needs to go do a bunch of dental work and he just hasn't been handling it. And I'm sure, and he's counting his, you know, he's in a budget and he can't just afford to go, you know, check out who to go to and pay a bunch of office visits, $100, $100, $100. So if you offer a free consultation and let someone come in, you can probably close them on what they need to do, especially if you have a payment plan or you offer financing, by letting them come in, pick your brain, show you what's going on, and then you can tell them what they need. Of course, they're going to need x-rays, so you're going to sell them something. But at least coming in and talking to you if they're scared isn't going to cost them anything. So obviously I'm not making you into a graphic designer, but you are the one that's going to have to approve any of the designs that are sent to you by a graphic designer, whether or not it's with us or with another company, or you have somebody who you know that does graphic design for you. But I want you to look at the piece with a discerning, educated eye. So the first thing you want to do is check to see if the message you want to convey is immediately obvious to the person receiving the postcard. Do they instantly know, oh, this is a dentist and here's their specials? Will the message resonate with your target audience? Like if you're doing implants and you're specializing in the elderly, don't put a picture of a family with little kids on the card. Make sure that you have, oh, and by the way, always make, if you're targeting older people, always use stock photos of people who look younger than the old people that you service. Make them look like they're in their early 50s on the card, because as we get older, we don't see ourselves as the white-haired people in the stock photos. We see ourselves as younger. So that's just a tip. Am I highlighting the benefits or features or both? Am I making prospective patients an offer they can't refuse? And do I have an easy, direct call to action? When you're, I kind of want to go backwards to one of these cards. Let me find one for you. So if you look here, it says call for an appointment, and you see that this is pink and everything else is blue and orange. What we're doing is we're compelling your eye to come over here and look at here at the call to action. And the call to action is not just the phone number and the URL, but actually telling them what to do. Call today for an appointment. That is a call to action. Make sure your contact information is super clear. I can't tell you how many times I've looked at an ad and I can't see where I don't see the phone number or I don't see the web address, and I'm looking for it. You don't want to make people think. Don't make them have to figure anything out when they're looking at the piece. And make sure the eye trail leads you to the offer and the call to action. That's very, very important. Okay, so direct mail, of course, is just one channel. And I want to talk to you about integrating your Google with direct mail. So let's talk about that. As you know, you already know this, that repetition increases familiarity and credibility for your practice. When your prospects see your name all over the place, they're more likely to choose you. So how can we integrate your direct mail with your online marketing so that it all seamlessly goes together? And that's something that we do called Direct Mail 2.0 New Patient Edition. This is very specific for anyone in the medical field, and I'll explain why in a little bit. So what we're doing is we're taking 3 additional components and adding them to a traditional direct mail or postcard campaign. The first one we're going to talk about is mail tracking. What is mail tracking? So you ever notice the little barcode when you receive a piece of mail? So there's a lot of data in there. What we've done is we've taken the data and pulled it apart, because what they're telling you, what the post office is telling you in this barcode, is the predicted delivery date to the address, and then they also give you the confirmed delivery date. So you can log into a portal on My Postcard Mania and into this dashboard, and you can track your postcard and see the date. So if there was only blue here, then the card would not have hit. It would just see blue bar graph of when particular pieces are supposed to hit based on the date and what percentage of the mailing that is. And when it's green, then you know it's confirmed. The next component that we add is a call tracking phone number, and I'm going to explain this to you really well. It does not have to be like an 800 number. You can have it be a local number. We have tons of phone numbers, and we can give you one that has your particular area code. The call tracking number does ring at your practice, okay? The person's dialing this different phone number for a couple of purposes. What happens is when they dial this different phone number, they're dialing it, it gets picked up here in the cloud where it's recorded and saved so you can listen to it, and then it rings in your practice right after this. So it takes about a second, and then it rings in the practice. I have a story from just last week. Well, when you get to the portal, I'll finish showing you the Direct Mail 2.0 dashboard for the phone numbers. You can see exactly the phone number that the person called from. You can see the length of the call. You can see the name of the person, and you can click this little play button and you can actually listen to the calls. And I had one of my marketing consultants come into my office and tell me about a dentist that ordered from us last week that basically she wasn't going to reorder. Her marketing consultant got her on the phone, and she said, we really haven't seen much of a response to our mailing. And my marketing consultant pulled up her call tracking records and saw hundreds of calls and basically showed this to her online. I don't know why she wasn't looking at it. She paid for the additional components, the Direct Mail 2.0. Anyway, she listened to a bunch of the calls, and she realized that her front office staff were literally almost driving people away. She was actually quite shocked. So she did reorder, and she's going to get her front office people corrected. And that's the same as one of our great clients, Village Green. I showed you he spends 10% of his revenue on marketing. And he had the same situation happen where he did the Direct Mail 2.0. He didn't see great results, and what was happening was he was not closing up. His people were not closing up the callers and getting them to make appointments. So it was quite interesting. Now the third component is the Google Follow Me feature, but it's not a Follow Me feature for you guys because of HIPAA. So it's the Google, what we call geo-targeting, geographic targeting feature. So let me explain this to you. So basically, everyone who gets a postcard from you is also going to see ads online that look like your postcard at the same time. So as soon as that mail is projected to hit, we start running these ads all over the Google network, and they'll see them everywhere. And let me just show you how it works. So they receive your postcard in the mail, and they may be interested, and they may hang on to it, or they may go to your website. We don't know what they're going to do. But at the same time, they're also seeing ads that look like your card on all different websites, millions of websites across the Google network. You know, they'll just see it wherever they're going. I mean, it doesn't matter. They're everywhere, and they're going to see them for a few months after your campaign starts. So it's really great. That repeat message is so, so important, and this is a way to seamlessly integrate those two things so that you're top of mind. And the added exposure is just, it really changes things exponentially. We've looked at the campaigns you know, from both, where we can't convince them to do Direct Mail 2.0, and frankly, I don't know how my guys don't convince them to do Direct Mail 2.0. I don't think I could speak to someone on the phone, talk to them about marketing, talk to them about their campaign, and not have them sign up for Direct Mail 2.0. I personally would not do my own Postcard Mania mailings, I mail 180,000 pieces every single solitary week to promote my own company. I've been doing it for not that amount for 19 years, but I've never missed a week in 19 years. And this day and age, I would never do a mailing without doing it with Direct Mail 2.0. I want to be able to listen to the calls. I want to see how many calls each piece generated, and I want to be able to have that additional exposure. So what happens is when they are ready to search for you, let's say they are ready to search for a dentist and your name comes up, you are completely familiar to them. And they'll go back to your site and go, I know this guy, you know, especially if you have those good reviews. So let me give you some case study information for our clients that have been doing Direct Mail 2.0. So this is Riverside Family Dental, and they are in Riverside, Iowa, and they purchased 2,665 records, median route income of 50K plus, and they mailed 5 times, and in 4 months they got 47 new patients, which is really good for that small number of cards. They spent $7,300, and this was their immediate revenue. This is 34th Street Dental Care, and they're in Berwyn, Illinois. They purchased 5,000 records of people with an income of 40,000 plus. They wanted children present, and they mailed 5,000 pieces 3 times. Now they got 75 calls and 32 new patients. I would reckon that they could probably do better than that. The campaign cost them $7,800, and they got an immediate revenue of $19,000. But we know that, I mean, whatever the average lifetime value is, it's something like, some dentists tell me $2,500, some tell me $3,500. I've had dentists tell me that their lifetime value is $5,000. So you can do the math. Prairie Hawk Dental, they're in Castle Rock, Colorado. Not a big fan of the brown personally, but that probably is, their website was probably already designed. They purchased 18,000 resident occupant records, and they mailed 3 times, and they got 324 calls and 112 new patients. And honestly, if someone's calling, they need a dentist, you've got to train your front desk people and get them to be appointment bookers. They spent $21,000 on the campaign, and they got an immediate revenue of $48,741. I think they could have done better. Pesdec Dental, they are in Apex, North Carolina, and they purchased 6,000 records, and they did 1,000 pieces per week for 6 weeks, and they got 229 calls. Isn't that amazing to be able to see how many calls? It's crazy. And they only closed 50 of them. Finley Dentist, they, where are they at? They're in Toledo, Ohio, and they mailed to homes that had an annual income of 35,000 plus. They mailed 2,500 pieces per week, so that's 10,000 cards a month, and they did it for 6 months, and they got 75 new patients. I don't know why we don't have the number of calls up there. North Broad Family Dental, they did a resident occupant list, but average income of 40,000, 12,000 pieces per month. They got 216 new patients. That's 18 new patients per month. And the reason you see a Dental Economics logo there is because we wrote an article about this practice for their magazine. They spent $37,000, and they got $540,000 out of this campaign. Auburn, I started to tell you about her because she had a brand new practice and booked herself solid before even opening. She did a radius around the practice. She did 6,000 every month. She got 337 new patients from postcards, which generated 400,000 in revenue from her, and she was averaging 100 patients per month. But I got to tell you, this gal is a smart cookie. She, I know, researched very heavily before she opened her practice exactly where she was going to go, studying the demographics and I guess the number of dentists in the area too. Village Green, my buddies over there, Dr. Monroe, he's also very nice about sharing everything with me. He's the one that actually had a fit listening to his calls from his call tracking and stopped mailing so that he could train everybody And we did a story about him in dental economics as well. He did a radius around the practice. He mailed 5,000 every single week. He got 106 new patients from postcards. He says it's $703,000 and $24 in planned production. He averages 80 new patients a month. He's the one spending 10% of fees. So he has spent $90,000 to generate that $700,000. So here's his schedule, his mailing. So he did 5,000 3 times, and then he stopped because he wanted to train everybody because he was mortified. And then he started mailing on a more consistent basis. Now, if you're wondering about the spike, this was an internal game that he played with his staff to get them to get referrals out of the patients. And boy, did it work. So that was last August and September, and I really need to get an updated graph from him. But I love when our clients share other successful actions and when they're integrating direct mail, Google, referrals, and all of that good stuff. This is Peak Family Dentistry and Orthodontics, and he's in Westminster, Colorado. I think it's about an hour outside of Denver. We did an article on him as well in dental economics. He's also a brand new practice. He mailed 22,000 pieces 4 times. He got 296 calls, but only 78 new patients. It means he's got to work on handling, making appointments. But he is averaging 64 new patients a month, and he's very, very happy with his results. And here's his graph, his new patients graph, when he started mailing monthly every single solitary month. And I believe he's another one that really researched the heck out of where he was going to open. So let's talk a little bit about my buddy, Dr. Khanna. As I said, I was Facebook messaging with him yesterday talking about his Facebook ads or his Facebook page, and I'll tell you about that too, because he does everything. And when you see his, I think I'm going to show you his graph again. Yeah, I will in just a moment. Then you can see what he's doing all together. But he was doing, he was with us doing 6,000 pieces without direct mail 2.0, and then he added direct mail 2.0. And you can just look at these numbers; they're crazy. He's doing 6,000 pieces a month. He's basically hitting everybody, because if you're going to do 20,000 plus income, that's pretty much everybody. 6,000 a month, then 12,000 a month, and then he added direct mail 2.0, and he went from averaging 30 new patients a month to averaging 170 new patients a month. And he says that he gets $1,000 immediately, and that he gets about 2,000 new patients per year, and that this comes out to $2 million. Let me just show you some numbers. Before we even had direct mail 2.0, and we didn't offer it, he was doing, he was averaging, let me just see, without direct mail 2.0, when he was mailing 12,000 pieces, he was still getting 83 patients a month, which is huge. I mean, that's not normal. But he also does a tremendous amount of work with Facebook and he said he spent a good year driving people to his Facebook page like they had it going on in the office like crazy. And when he added direct mail 2.0, he went up to 154 patients per month. So it does exponentially change your results or improve your results. So here's his graph again. But I invite you to go to Patuxent Dental and to his Facebook page. And I went on it yesterday because we're doing Facebook for one of our clients, and I knew Dr. Khanna was doing so well with it, and I just wanted to get his successful actions. And he does spend money to boost the posts, but you'll see they're not like the most amazing posts in the world. It's not like you go there and you're just like blown away by these posts, but what you're doing with Facebook really is you can target the same people that are getting your postcards, and their targeting is amazing, and you can increase what you're trying to do with your marketing overall. Honestly, is you're trying to get people to like you and want to do business with you. So when somebody doesn't know anything about you and they're pretty neutral, they feel quite neutral about you, They go to your website, and at that point, they're either going to feel a little better about you. That website's going to increase the affinity they feel for your practice, or how much they trust you, or it's going to decrease that. And every marketing piece that you have, you want it to increase the way the favorability, the affinity that they have for you. And he's just been really, really, really good at doing that. So that takes us to the end of our webinar, but I have a very, very special offer for you. And I am such a huge believer in consistency and how different it is when you do long-term planning and you have a consistent campaign, that if you are already mailing with us and you upgrade to a 6-month campaign, we'll give you 25% off. And if you are not a client of ours, but you become a client of ours and you sign up for a 6-month campaign or longer, we'll give you 25% off. Now, I want to just tell you that, and we are going to do questions, but I want to tell you that I have over 30 marketing consultants sitting out there, extremely busy at the moment, but I really recommend that you call them. And aside from you picking their brain, please let them pick your brain, please, because they know what questions to ask you to come up with the best campaign possible at the very lowest price for you, that's going to get you the very best results, and they're going to want to ask you a ton of questions. So, that costs you nothing. To call them up and talk to them and pick their brain and let them ask you a million questions, it's just your time, and it can really make a difference in your practice. So now we're just going to, and I have a special phone number. If you can call this one, 855-514-2389. I would love it if you would call that number, and we can track how many of you actually call from this webinar. Also, if you want to email me a question, you can email me at joy.genduza@postcardmania.com. You can see it there, but I kind of want to leave it on a slide that has that special phone number so that you can call right away. But anyway, if you have any questions, here I am ready to answer them. Jessica?
Hey, yeah, we've got a question from Will.
Okay.
And he is wondering, if I'm doing multiple mailings to the same list, is it more effective to change up the postcard design and promo for each mailing?
Not necessarily, Will. I would take one design and I would just keep mailing it until the list starts to not respond as well. What you'll see with your direct mail is by the 3rd and 4th mailing, you'll be getting the best response, and you might keep getting the same response to that list with that postcard for the next several mailings. But at some point, you'll see it start to die off a little bit. That's when I would change up your design.
Okay, cool. So we also have somebody, Angela's wondering, how many times should I hit the same list?
Until it's not producing for you anymore. We at Postcard Mania, we hit the same list forever, honestly, until they say stop, but they don't.
Okay, and another question, how much is Direct Mail 2.0, the add-on feature?
That is a really awesome question. I honestly don't know the prices. I have 210 staff, and I haven't done the sales or the pricing myself in a long time. At this point in my career, I get my biggest pleasure from educating small business owners on how to grow their businesses, so that's primarily what I do. But you can call the number, 855-514-2389, and talk to any of my reps, and they'll help you with that.
Okay, so Erin wants to know, if you only have a budget for a limited number of mailings, is it better to do them closer together or space them out?
You see, that's the mailing schedule question. I would have to, we can help you. We can find out for you, if you don't see it on Google, how many dentists are in your area, and find out if they're good marketers or not. I think hitting your list once a month is the ideal amount of time.
Okay, cool. I think that might be all of our questions, you guys, unless you want to type them in quickly. I know that this webinar ran over a little bit just because we have so much great content for dentists and dental practices, and we're over an hour now, so
Gotta let them get back to work.
Yeah, we've got to get going, make the money. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge and experience with us, Joy. And I'm sure if anybody has any questions, they can write you directly or me.
Yeah, you can. Again, it's joy.genduza@postcardmania.com. Happy to answer any emails. And you can just call the number. And I think, Jessica, they have your email because of the whole webinar
Yep.
thing. Okay,
Yep, I'm
perfect.
the
Thank you,
organizer.
everybody. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen today. I hope you got some value out of it.
All righty, bye-bye.